Shabbat Shalom. We have been finalizing the final details for Monday evening as we prepare to learn with our member, Dr. Bellary Zatzman. Bellary is a distinguished scholar and professor emerita, and Bellary will present on The Diary of Anne Frank in Performance, Variations on a Theme. This is part of our ongoing collaboration and lecture series with York University. And this topic was intentionally selected as it coincides with the commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which will be observed the following day. As I have been reflecting on Bellary's upcoming presentation, so many meaningful memories from my time staffing the March of the Living as rabbi in April 2023 have resurfaced. One particularly intense memory took place inside a barrack at Auschwitz-Birkenau. All three of the March of the Living cohorts, the teens, the young adults, and the adults from Toronto, were crowded together in one of the remaining barracks, or maybe it was a replica, not sure, to listen to Holocaust survivor Nate Leipziger. He shared his testimony, and he offered a very powerful charge to the Jewish participants from Toronto who had traveled to Poland and were soon to continue on to Israel. Earlier this week, I rewatched video footage that I took that day on my phone, which was the day of the actual march from Auschwitz to Birkenau. And the image just remains vivid. Just picture rows and rows of teens and adults in those now iconic blue March of the Living jackets, many still draped in Israeli flags, seated so tightly together on the floor, listening in complete silence as one elderly man stood before them holding the room. Nate spoke about the necessity of knowing our specific history. He insisted that passivity is not an option, and that Jews must fight for the right to be citizens, to live freely, and to retain dignity. We must be allowed to practice our religion just like everybody else, he said. And he urged participants to be able to say clearly and unapologetically, yes, I am a Jew. Yes, I am a Zionist. Yes, I want to be free and I have that right. Quoting Rabbi Hillel's teaching from Pirkei Avot, Im lo achshav matai, if not now, when, Nate literally emphasized that now is when. Now is the moment. And this was April 2023, 6 months before October 7th ever happened. For those of us who have heard Nate speak, and I'm assuming I'm not the only one, this message is familiar. He has been outspoken for decades, educating countless individuals across the GTA and beyond, and recently he was awarded Order of Canada in recognition of his profound impact on Holocaust education. Nate is now 97 years old. And over the winter break, some of you might have seen him featured in the news because he lives in that condo building at Finch and Bayview, which was one of the buildings where vandals forcibly removed mezuzot from residents' doorposts. Following this incident, Nate told the Canadian Jewish News that he had suddenly realized, I'm very vulnerable. Those words from a few weeks ago sound markedly different from what he shared with the March of the Living delegates less than 3 years before. I do not believe that it is coincidence that we read Parshat Bo so soon after Nate's building was vandalized, which was an incident that occurred only 2.5 weeks after nearly 100 mezuzahs were illegally removed from doorposts at another building, the one at Bathurst and Steeles, which is a predominantly seniors residence, which the police called hate-motivated theft. But there is a powerful connection between mezuzot, and the prelude to the final and most devastating of the 10 plagues, which is found in our parasha. In Parshat Bo, on a terrifying night, the Israelites, Bnei Israel, are commanded to take blood and place it where? On the doorposts of their homes. These are God's directions. V'lakchu min hadam, v'natnu al shtei hamezuzot ve'al hamashkof, al habatim asher yochlu oto bahem. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the house in which they are to eat it. There was a sacrifice involved, but I want to focus on the blood. V'haya hadam lachem le'ot al habatim asher atem sham, v'ra'iti et hadam ufasachti alehem v'lo yeh bahem negef lemashchit b'hakoti be'eretz Mitzrayim. And the blood on the houses where you are staying shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, so that no plague will destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. And this is where Pesach gets its name. V'ra'iti et hadam ufasachti alehem. God will see the blood on the doorposts of Bnei Israel, and God will pass over their homes, leaving God's wrath for the very cruel Egyptians. Now, Rashi asks a very obvious question. Surely God does not need a visual sign, as nothing is hidden from the divine. Classic Rashi, he answers his own question, and he says, God isn't looking for information, but rather, God is setting divine attention upon the Israelites' active engagement in a mitzvah. It is their visible act, their clearly visible act of covenantal courage that brings protection. Now, placing blood on the doorposts was not a private gesture. It was a declaration. We're part of this story. And we trust, we have hope, even when it is dangerous to do so. And ever since, the doorpost has carried echoes of vulnerability and survival and hope. In Jewish life, a doorpost is not merely architectural, it's spiritual. And it's most evident in the mitzvah of mezuzah. While the outer cases may vary, inside every single mezuzah are the same sacred verses of the Shema. And so each time that a Jew enters or leaves a home and acknowledges the mezuzah, the doorpost becomes a reminder of Jewish identity, but also responsibility. The Talmud describes the mezuzah as guarding the home, not magically, but ethically and spiritually. In Menachot, in the Talmud, we read that the mezuzah is placed closest to the public domain so that one encounters it immediately, and as Rav Hanina teaches, so that it may symbolically protect the entire home. Symbolically. Like the blood in Egypt, the mezuzah is a reminder that Jewish life does not disappear in the face of threat. Throughout history, doorposts have marked Jewish vulnerability. December 2025 was not the first time that mezuzot have been violently removed in our vast history. It is part of a long-standing anti-Semitic repertoire. It's one of the top 5 tools in the anti-Semites toolbox. But most of us pass through doorposts countless times each day. There's one in this room. And so I want to invite you, using a viva language, I want to invite you for just a moment to imagine standing before your doorpost, marked with blood, per God's request, as our ancestors once did, knowing what was going to happen, but trusting in God with all of your might for one long day. Imagine that trust, that it's going to be okay. And now briefly, but really only briefly because it's terrible, imagine the horror of someone tearing down a mezuzah from your front door out of hatred. Okay, now let that image go, it's yucky. But here's what history teaches us. Every time mezuzot have been torn down, they have been replaced. Jews have returned, stronger. Nate Leipziger survived the depths of Auschwitz, and he rebuilt a life of extraordinary meaning. While he may now acknowledge vulnerability, consider how many lives he has inspired over decades of education and advocacy, and how many times he has urged Jews to stand proudly and claim their rights and say, yes, I am a Jew. Horrible things have happened to us. That's undeniable. But each time, Jews have endured. This too is undeniable. Earlier this week, I was privileged to be in a room with Elie Schirabi, whose wife and children and brother were murdered by Hamas, and he himself was held underground for nearly 500 days. But now, if you've heard him speak ever, or if you've read his book Hostage, he will tell you he now makes Kiddush on Friday nights with his mother. He's not religious, he'll tell you that too, but he has a renewed faith in God and in Am Yisrael and in the Jewish people. He has returned stronger. On the upcoming International Holocaust Remembrance Day, I invite you not only to remember the horrors of the Shoah, but also to notice what emerges after the waves of hatred recedes. Resilience, rebuilding, and responsibility. That's what our people do. It's up and down like this. And of course, please join us on Monday night to hear Dr. Bellary Zatzman as part of our Higher Learning series. On Tuesday, International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is not Yom HaShoah, that's our day, it's the world's day. Take a moment to really look at a mezuzah in your home. Give yourself like 3 minutes. Look at a mezuzah. Don't take it for granted. And remember what the mezuzah proclaims. It proclaims that a Jewish life is lived here. And I'm pretty sure we all like that life. In our parsha, the blood on the doorposts was never meant to remain. It just lasted one night. Morning came, doors opened, and the people walked out together. That Holocaust survivors rebuild lives and established homes and placed mezuzahs on their doors after they came out of the ashes is itself an act of victory over Pharaoh, over Hitler, over Hamas, and over every other force that has sought to erase us. Yes, a stolen mezuzah wounds, we all feel it, but it does not erase. And so as we are at Parshat Bo and about to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day, let us do so with covenantal hope, not rooted in denial, but in the certainty that we know we will rise again, and that mezuzot will be replaced and doors remarked, and communities will be strengthened. The blood on the doorposts, they carried our ancestors through one very long night. But the mezuzah, it carries us through so many more. And like then, so now, we are still here. Shabbat Shalom.